Today, the most consequential developments emerge from Ukraine, where Russia attempted to seize the initiative after months of stagnation. The recent large-scale spring offensive, intended to break the prolonged deadlock, unfolded in ways that exposed fundamental flaws in Russian strategy and execution. Rather than achieving the intended momentum, Russian forces encountered confusion, miscoordination, and severe losses. Early reports indicate that some units, disoriented and poorly directed, even engaged in friendly fire, tragically highlighting the depth of disarray within the ranks. The offensive spanned a broad front line from Huliaipole to Pokrovsk, with the aim of reclaiming lost ground and ending the operational stalemate that had persisted through the winter months. Russian troops attempted coordinated attacks under heavy fog, deploying a mix of infantry, armored vehicles, and motorcycles along multiple axes in a bid to exploit weather conditions and stretch Ukrainian defenses thin. Yet, despite these tactical adjustments, Ukrainian forces were remarkably prepared, leveraging drones and precision targeting to counter each assault point. One notable episode involved a Russian mechanized column advancing toward Huliaipole. Initially, a small infantry team tried to infiltrate the area but quickly faltered, prompting the escalation of armored vehicles. The column's progress, however, was detected early, and coordinated drone strikes systematically destroyed the vehicles. The surviving soldiers sought refuge in nearby buildings but were relentlessly tracked and eliminated through a combination of artillery and UAV fire. This failure illustrates the growing dominance of unmanned systems in modern conflict, particularly in defensive operations against larger, less agile forces. Parallel attempts to advance north of Huliaipole, deploying infantry supported by armored fighting vehicles, similarly ended in disaster. Vehicles were neutralized before completing objectives. Troops, caught in the open or using minimal cover, were swiftly targeted and eliminated. The Russian plan to adapt by using smaller infantry groups, often in daylight and with inadequate concealment, reflected a departure from traditional tactics, yet it proved ineffective against well-prepared defenses. Across the broader front line, local anti-tank obstacles compounded the attackers' vulnerabilities, leaving them exposed to UAV attacks that resulted in significant casualties. Near Pokrovsk, another episode highlighted both the innovation and desperation in Russian tactics. A motorcycle assault was deployed, capitalizing on speed to minimize drone exposure. Yet Ukrainian defenders had anticipated this move, neutralizing most of the motorcycles before the assault even reached the village, and subsequently eliminating the remaining attackers with targeted drone strikes. These encounters underscore the growing tactical gap. Russian forces continue to rely on traditional mobility and brute force, whereas Ukrainian defenses are increasingly networked, agile, and technologically superior. Compounding these tactical failures are serious issues of discipline and morale. Intercepted communications reveal incidents of intoxicated Russian soldiers mistaking their comrades for enemies, a horrifying consequence of both poor unit cohesion and the psychological strain of relentless operational pressure. Such lapses highlight systemic deficiencies in command, preparation, and control, raising questions about the sustainability of Russian operational ambitions. In contrast, Ukrainian forces demonstrate a high level of coordination and adaptability, utilizing intelligence, drones, and rapid response targeting to inflict maximum damage while minimizing exposure. The human cost on the Russian side has been staggering. Reports suggest unprecedented personnel losses during the opening of the offensive, along with the destruction of armored vehicles and artillery systems. The willingness of the Russian command to continue operations regardless of casualties has produced chaos rather than results, as units struggle with disorganization, substance abuse, and the psychological toll of failure. This pattern of reckless persistence, coupled with inadequate planning and poor communications, signals that future offensives are likely to face similar setbacks unless fundamental reforms occur. From a critical perspective, these events reveal more than just battlefield outcomes. They expose structural weaknesses that will shape the trajectory of the conflict in the coming months. Russian reliance on attritional tactics in an era of advanced defensive technologies seems increasingly untenable. The decisive role of drones and networked intelligence in repelling large-scale assaults suggests that asymmetric advantages will continue to define success, favoring defenders who integrate innovation, coordination, and situational awareness over brute force. Looking ahead, one must anticipate that Russian forces will continue to grapple with morale, logistics, and unit cohesion. If the trend of poorly executed attacks, friendly fire, and substance-related lapses continues, operational failures will compound, creating vulnerabilities along multiple sectors of the front. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces, learning from each engagement, will likely expand their use of drones, precision targeting, and rapid response tactics to reinforce defensive lines while exploring opportunities to conduct counteroffensives in weakened sectors. Strategically, the conflict may enter a period defined less by sweeping territorial advances and more by technological and operational duels. The battlefield is evolving into one where intelligence dominance, surveillance, and drone-based strikes dictate the tempo of combat. Conventional mechanized assaults without sufficient reconnaissance or adaptability appear increasingly futile. Russia's persistence in deploying manpower across long, fortified front lines without adjusting tactics suggests that similar failures will recur, potentially eroding both morale and combat capability over time. In sum, the recent offensive reflects a critical turning point. While Russia sought to regain momentum through force and aggression, the reality of coordinated Ukrainian defenses, coupled with tactical misjudgments, has underscored the risks of outdated operational doctrine. The coming period is likely to see a continuation of such dynamics, high-intensity localized engagements, drone-enabled interdiction, and an ongoing struggle for initiative along contested front lines. Observers should watch for the increasing integration of technology in defensive operations, the potential for Russian tactical recalibration, and the growing psychological and organizational pressures within the Russian military. The unfolding conflict is no longer merely about territory. It is a test of adaptability, resilience, and the ability to leverage emerging technologies under the extreme pressures of modern warfare.